You ever watch a sci-fi movie and see some piece of incredible technology and just think, no way, that's pure fantasy? Well, what's so cool is that sometimes the most out there ideas are actually pulled straight from real-world science. And today, we're going to dive into a perfect example of that, a type of armor that's literally designed to get destroyed in order to work. So let's start where a lot of us probably first heard this term, Star Trek. On tough little ships like the USS Defiant, they're always talking about their ablative hull armor, and it just sounds so incredibly advanced, so powerful.
And then you hear lines like this one, with boil-off rates and particle clouds. It just screams technobabble, right? It's the kind of language that makes science fiction feel, well, fictional. But here's the thing that's so interesting. That jargon? It's actually describing a very real and, frankly, a very clever scientific principle.
Okay, so let's peel back that sci-fi curtain for a second. Let's forget about phasers and starships. The core concept behind all this is surprisingly simple. It's really all about sacrificing a small part to save the whole.
Here it is, the official definition. Ablation is just a fancy way of saying you're removing material from a surface, by vaporizing it, chipping it, or just eroding it away. Think of it like a lizard dropping its tail to get away from a predator. The armor is meant to break. It intentionally lets its outer layer get completely destroyed to absorb and push away all that harmful energy.
And honestly, the Star Trek model is a fantastic way to picture how this works in the real world. So, first up, a massive blast of energy hits the hull. Now, instead of trying to just tank the hit, the armor spreads that thermal energy all across its surface. This causes the surface to literally boil off, and that creates the dense particle cloud we heard about. And finally, that cloud of vaporized armor actually scatters the rest of the incoming beam. So it turns out that technobabble was a pretty great explanation after all.
But here's the thing. This tech isn't just for fighting off Klingons in deep space. Ablative armor is a critical piece of technology used right here, right now, for some of the biggest engineering challenges we have.
And this is where the purpose really splits. In fiction, it's pretty much always about combat, blocking energy weapons and surviving space battles. But in reality, its main job is to fight something even more powerful, the insane, scorching heat of re-entering Earth's atmosphere. It's the stuff that keeps our spacecraft, and yeah, even things like warheads, from just burning up into nothing on their way down.
And this isn't some newfangled idea either. This goes way back to the 1960s on experimental aircraft like the X-15 hypersonic jet. And of course, it's still crucial today for things like the Mars Pathfinder probe, which had to survive slamming into the Martian atmosphere. But maybe the most surprising place this concept popped up was in the 2000s, where it took a really interesting turn.
That's right, BattleBots. The very same idea that protects a space shuttle from becoming a fireball is used to defend a robot from a giant spinning blade. Teams figured out they could just bolt on layers of sacrificial armor. When a weapon hits, that layer gets torn to shreds, but it absorbs all that kinetic energy, protecting the important stuff inside. It's a perfect, almost low-tech use for a super high-tech concept. Okay, so now that we've seen how real this idea is, it's pretty fascinating to jump back into fiction and see how different storytellers have taken this one scientific idea and just run with it in all these different directions. And the variety is just so cool. Star Trek, as we know, uses it as part of the ship's actual hull. In the video game EVE Online, it's an extra module you can attach to your ship. In the Gundam universe, it's a special paint-like coating that resists beam weapons. And then in the classic tabletop RPG Traveler, it's a personal jacket called an Ablative jacket that you can wear to protect yourself from lasers. It's the same core idea, but 4 completely different creative takes on it. So after touring the galaxy and coming right back down to Earth, what's the one thing we really need to remember from all this? Well, it all boils down to a really cool, kind of counterintuitive idea. This, right here, is the heart of it. We are so used to thinking of armor as something that has to be unbreakable, impenetrable. But ablative armor is brilliant precisely because it's designed to fail. Its destruction is its function. By breaking apart, it literally carries that deadly energy away from whatever it's trying to protect. And that leaves us with a really fascinating question to chew on. This concept of adding to subtract. Putting something in place specifically so it can be removed is a really powerful way to think. It makes you wonder, what other complex problems, whether in engineering or, heck, even in our own lives, could we solve not by building stronger walls, but by designing better ways for them to crumble?